Hey, what's up you guys? Welcome back to the channel. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about this. Bam! The second generation Milwaukee ROVER floodlights. So stay tuned. Alright you guys, so Milwaukee has upped their game or whatnot. Alright you guys, so Milwaukee has released their second generation floodlights, okay? There's actually more than just this one, but we're going to talk about this one today. So they released the second generation one. I've had the first generation one here. We'll talk about some differences later, but they say they've made some improvements, and we're going to talk about some of those improvements, all right? And I think, for the record, they're pretty good improvements. So the first generation one, here it is. I've had this since it first came out. A few months after it first came out. It's been very helpful. Use it a lot when you're like camping or painting or outside working in the dark or under the car. Actually, that's pretty convenient under the car. Fun stuff like that. But it's been very useful. So, but if anyone that does have this light, you're gonna know it just eats batteries and it gets really warm. Right here. It's got like these super big heat sinks on the back of these LEDs to cool it down. So let's talk, before we get into some of the improvements, let's talk about some differences between the first generation one and the second generation one. So the first generation one, on all the first generation Rover lights, they have this design where the LED is kind of in like a headlight reflector type design or encasing type thing. So if you don't know what that means, so like a car headlight, you know how there's like a light, there's like a light source, and then there's like a reflector thing around it that helps focus the beam or reflect it outwards. So it does have that on the first generation ones. On the second generation ones, it does not. It's literally just LED or just the diodes on the front. There's no like reflecting type beam on that. On the first generation one, between this, obviously, hear that? Has a bunch of clicks, so you can't fine tune it if you needed it just perfectly like that, right? Which nobody really does. But on the second generation one, it's smooth action, okay? The first generation one, actually, I think it goes somewhere around like 240 degrees from front to back. So if you sat it down like this, you could just turn it and go like that. On the second generation one, you can't do that because it only goes about 120 degrees, which I'm not going to complain about. No one should complain about that. All you have to do is, okay? So don't complain about that. It's a little bit, I don't want to say smaller, but it's a little bit shorter, at least it seems like. So if you're going to go into like a tight spot right in your car and you couldn't get this in there, maybe this one can, who knows. But that's generally the biggest differences, okay? There's some other minor differences, but we'll talk about that. So I've had this for a while, use it a lot. Great light. So let's talk about this one. So on the second generation one, they made some huge improvements, or at least they say, and I do agree with them. They've increased the brightness. So now this thing on high, I think, has 4,000 lumens on high, and on medium it has 2,000 lumens, and then on low it has 1,200 lumens. Okay, and that's actually brighter than the first generation one. And now it also runs longer. So on a 5.0, I think Milwaukee says, here, let me get the box real quick. On a 5.0, they say it runs 3 hours at 4,000 lumens and 6 hours at 2,000 lumens on medium. And on low, it runs 12 hours with 1,200 lumens, okay? So I didn't test those numbers exactly, but I can tell you the numbers I got. And I can tell you that per amp hour. So I've used the 3.0, the 6.0, the 5, and the 12, and the 9. I do still have some of the 9s. So I think rough on high, I get somewhere around 40-ish minutes per amp hour on high. And that's pretty good. And if you do on medium, I think it was somewhere around 1 hour and 5 minutes to 1 hour to let's just say somewhere around 1 hour and 5 minutes per amp hour on medium. And somewhere around 2 hours per amp hour on low. It's probably a little bit more than that, I think, but that's what it came down to. So if you run on high and you put a 12.0 in there, I mean, most likely, I mean, a small job, you can get the job done, no problem. So now it's brighter, runs longer, and it's a little bit smaller. It's IP54 rated, but we'll talk about that in a bit. So it still does keep that power design. Now, the power port where you plug it in is actually covered. Right? It still does not have a bypass or a power out port, so you can't just chain multiple of these together. Not too big of a problem, not like the first one could do that anyways. The other problem, or not the other problem, the other thing is still does not do is it still does not charge the battery. So if you plug it in and you have the battery in here, it'll default to the AC power. It will not charge the battery, okay? I think if they did, it would be nice, right? But it doesn't do that yet. Like I said, it's IP54 rated, and it only turns 120 degrees, right? So for whatever reason, if you can't get it in the perfect light angle that you want, you could turn it downwards, put it downwards and do that. Or you can turn it around if you need to go this way, or you can put it this way, right? So eventually, depending on which way you lay it down, you can get light almost in wherever you need it to go. Okay, on this one, they also have a dedicated power button, and then it has a dedicated mode button, and it does remember the setting you were on last. Meaning, if you had it on high and you turn it off, and you turn it back on, it will come back on high. If you turn it off on low and turn it back on, it will be on low. The first generation one, obviously, you had this push that one power button multiple times so I could do the modes. Sometimes it gets annoying, like for instance, if you want on low because you're painting really close or something, and then you had to turn it off because you went to, I don't know, get lunch or something, and you came back and you turned it on and it's on high. Whoa, it's just blinding you or whatever. Small issue. Right, so anyways, it does have that. It does have the, like a little indent here so you could put a screw, hold it like this. Or it also has the two screw holes on the bottom, or 4 screw holes, I mean, on the bottom, so you can go like this. There has been a time where I've literally just took a Romex, left the Romex, just tied it, and done that. I mean, who hasn't done that before? But anyways, it's great. Use it a lot for painting under the car. It's actually really great because it's bright, really bright, right? Bright and lasts longer. So one of the things I did notice is if you put them right next to each other and run them side by side, I think this one has a more wider and more evenly distributed light pattern. I'll throw out some pictures. I tested it at night a little bit. So on the first one, I think it has more of like a headlight type design where it shoots out in front really strong and just barely a little bit on the edges outside of that cone. On this one, it's more wider and it's brighter, more flood. So I'll definitely get this one if you can. I think Home Depot, you can get, I think I posted a community post about this. Right now, I think at the time of this posting, you can pick the first generation ones up at Home Depot, I think roughly for like $86 or $87 or something like that, which is still a good deal for lights. So if you can find these, I would say go pick it up if you're in the market for a light. Let's talk about the batteries. So you can use almost any batteries in here. Sometimes, depending on what you're doing, you can use a 12-0. This is a 12-0, look at that. It fits there just fine, has space. So if they wanted to put a bigger battery, they can. But with a 12-0, I don't want to say it's heavy, but it's definitely not light. So I've been using it with the 6-0, or you can use it with the 5-0, it's fine, depending on what your needs are and what batteries you have. So like I said, it's a great light. It's built pretty tough. I haven't dropped it yet. I don't plan on dropping it because I don't know, I generally like to take care of my stuff, I guess. But I can definitely tell you it's built pretty tough. It did fall off the table once and it works fine, but that's not a problem. This one, actually I dropped off when I had it on the car, replacing bay number 0 fuel injector in a Mazda. I actually knocked it over. It actually fell off, rolled down the driveway, all this up on. It was fine, all right? Not even too much scratched up, so it's a great light. They do build pretty tough. I don't know if I mentioned it, but 5-year tool warranty. I think it has a lifetime LED warranty. So we'll see how that goes, but lifetime LED warranty. But the other thing I do, like I said, appreciate is it doesn't have to use like an AC adapter or some weird type power cord in order for it to work. Standard power cord on job site works fine. So if you can pick this up, pick it up. What's not to like? Brighter, more runtime, and cheaper. All right, so pick it up. So maybe we'll revisit this video sometime later after a couple years and see if it still works. But pick it up. Hope you guys helped you guys out, and we'll see you guys next time.